What advice would you give to a franchisee that's shopping or a potential franchisee that's shopping franchises? What should they look for in the franchise offerings that they're shopping?
Their emotional response to the offering. But it's absolutely not for everybody. Our person needs to be so personable, so able to connect. I would say find the one that resonates, that you feel, and trust that, because everything else is a very well curated sales process.
All right, we're doing another franchisor today and a co-founder. We have Kristopher Stuart with Bloomin Blinds. Chris is currently the COO, aka the ops guy for Bloomin Blinds. Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Your business is blowing up right now. I see something new every single day from your company about new territories coming out, and just the momentum's insane.
Thank you.
I'm going to credit it to the pink logo. I think that's
Pink's
what
fun.
it is. Yeah.
It's been good to us.
So thanks for joining me. Tell me a little bit about because you're a family-owned business and operated business. Can you speak a little bit about how this all came to be and how you guys went from, a single blind location to now have how many locations?
Yeah, so servicing 74 owners, running 126 territories, I think at today's count.
Awesome. And over what time period?
We did paperwork in 2014, put the first one on the ground in 15. And up until 2021, October 17th, 2021, there was 3 of us, just my brothers, Kelsey, Kevin, and myself. October 18th, there was 17 in office, including a call center and ops team, support, training. All the elements were in place, installed overnight. So
that's like the franchisor dream right there, that transition, right?
I don't know if many people dream it to be that instantaneous, but it was, it's kind of the full sends only mindset. We like the idea of how Buffalo handles storm. They just head right on into it because they know it'll be over faster, as opposed to cows that run away from it and just get mired in it for months and months, or however long that storm might be.
All right, the analogy just totally gave away where you guys are located. So you're out of Texas.
We're out of Texas. Yeah, we're out of Texas. But no, it was, we had a plan and we forward invested, and we knew it was going to be something. And so we took the gamble on ourselves and did it overnight.
Awesome, man. So your mom started the company, if I understand correctly, right?
On 9/11.
And 9/11 as in
2001.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It was the few pieces of business done in Austin at the comptroller's office before they were sent home, evacuated for the day. So coincidental anniversary, but solemn nonetheless. Little did I know that I'd end up being a firefighter paramedic for 12 years. Starting in 2008 is when I got employed for that. So did that through 2020 and then committed full-time to franchisorship.
What is it with firefighters and franchises? I hear that so much. There's a lot of firefighters in the franchise space, either as E's or as now.
I think it's an ability to be resilient in the face of adversity. There's just an understanding, an agreement between the firefighting profession and society that when you call, we go.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, weather, fatigue, whatever it is, like that's the promise. And so the mindset is you just go. I'm lucky enough to get to participate in the thought leadership roundtables at the IFA here at convention. And that's what I'm doing. It's just the resiliency. It's the mental resiliency necessary in business. It's luckily for firefighters, it's trained into us. And so it becomes pattern behavior that it's easy to fall back onto. For others, it's not so easy, but I think it's necessary. And that's what, to your point of why firefighters always find a franchise, is because they know how to just get up and keep going. Regardless of what they're called to do or what's in front of them or what the task is that they didn't think they were going to do, they just do. I think that's something that our shop, our office is ran like a firehouse because I run the joint, and that's where my formal training came from.
Do you guys have the pole from the second
We
floor?
don't have the pole. No, it's not building standard.
Okay.
So the lease agreement wouldn't let us do that. It's on the list for when we get our own camp, though. So it's been discussed. But it's, that very informal environment within the walls that, hierarchy doesn't really have a place unless necessary to motivate troops to one direction or the other.
Right.
But when we're off-site and we're on task, everyone kind of goes right into almost a riding position seat assignment, and becomes almost autonomous because we're trained and they've been indoctrinated, if you will, into an environment that is interdependent. Like franchising. You're not codependent, you're interdependent. Everybody, like the fire department, it's a service model. You're of service to somebody else. Everything's an external output. And if you keep that front of mind, then it's easy to kind of find the next step because someone's counting on you to do it. And so that's kind of how our brand was built, is that same mindset of what guys do in a firehouse is they talk about fire and EMS and everything around the table with their feet up, boots kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
It's comfortable work, but it's work. They're developing their thing, their widget. In our case, it's blinds. In that case, it's public safety. So if all that works when it really matters in the public safety environment or paramilitary organization that's of service to anything else, anyone that has a patch on their shoulder that promises to do something.
Another one that does really well in franchising, right, is going to be veterans.
Absolutely.
Especially in home services, everybody's chasing veterans.
There's a mindset of service that just lets you do it better. And that's trained and instilled. So it's easy to apply to a different recipe, a different set of ingredients, and just do it over again.
Do you have any tips on how you instill that down to the franchisee level? So it's easier because you got your pulse on the franchise or corporate, right? So your team that you're with directly all day, every day. How do you pass that and instill that value and those principles down to the franchisee?
The same failure point in business happens in public safety, and it's communication. Every line of duty death or critical incident that gets documented and reviewed, communication failure at some point in the chain is always a part of that assessment. Every single time. You can't find a single one where there wasn't a failure of 9/11. Failure of communication. Radios couldn't operate on those elevations with that many signals on the network. So communication and maintaining that is how you stay in tune and being not faking it, right? If your intent is to do something, do your intent. If you fail and your intent was honest, they will support you in the effort. You can't continue to fail. You got to win. But if you have a failure point, something that is supposed to be a lesson where we learn is in failure, everyone tells us that, but are we given that allowance to do that? Ourselves, our team, our franchisees, they're off script. Are they bad? No, just help them get back on script. That's our job, is to support service. So you communicate. The only way to maintain that is through honest, true communication. Celebrate your wins, own your losses, what everyone says to do. It's rinse and repeat the basics.
I love hearing how people celebrate the wins. How does Bloomin' Blinds celebrate the wins with their franchisees?
Not well. We're horrible self-promoters.
Oh, shit.
No, yeah, and that's part of our learning and maturing as a brand is learning how to be better self-promoters, how to build the brand as a entity beyond the guy in the truck, which is what we were. We were the guy in the truck. And so it's taken an evolution of our brand to discover what that means to share that, to tell that story. And to our franchisees' credit, they've been extremely trusting and supportive of our efforts to do that. We've been very good at supporting them in their job with the promise of one day we'll learn how to build a brand. And we're in this year, 2024, I think we're going to see a lot of things fall into place that we're able to deliver on that promise downstream. But they knew our history. They knew where we were coming from. They knew we wouldn't quit trying. We haven't. And we're getting to now, I think this year, with brand guides, advertising, marketing opportunities, strategy, strategic alignments, like all this stuff is happening like within the next couple of quarters. So we're finding how to do better at celebrating those wins. For us as founders, we win them and we stick them in a drawer and get on to the next one, because there's far more work to do than time to. That was our mindset, right? It's like the pile is so big. I don't have time to stop and throw a party to celebrate this because I got to get to the next one. Like, and so it was on one side, it was we did well in protecting the responsibility to keep working. On the flip side, we did a disservice to our franchisees that trusted us at the time. In that brand building, we stalled in that area. We didn't know what we didn't know.
So I told you before the podcast I was out last night, and so I think you're actually doing pretty well with the branding, because the pink is definitely a differentiator, right? That's going to make you stand out a little bit. So I'm out with my team yesterday, and we're walking, downtown Phoenix here, and I see a wedding party or something like a bachelorette party. And there's, 25 women, and they're all dressed in the Bloomin Blinds color. And then instantly I'm just seeing this like string of pink going down the street. And I'm like, oh, Bloomin Blinds.
Yeah, that was expensive. That was, no.
I mean, look at that. Now that's promotion at its finest, when you have a parade of people just marching around the city for the convention.
Hey, we're very creative. We're finding unique opportunities everywhere. No, but it takes, my brother does, when he goes to development conferences, he has pink pants. Hot pink pants. And
well, you got the pink on there. You got a little pink accent on the jacket. And
it's easy to place, easy to recognize. And it's, if we're in the room, just being friendly. And I think we are genuine, if nothing else. Just being in the room in pink, I think, and we're all rather large. I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
So you can carry a color a little bit taller. I think they all think it's, or the instant association. I hope the instant association is our brand versus other. I'm more than happy to align with all the other brands in franchising that use the pink. They're all fantastic. I don't know of one that I wouldn't stand next to proudly, because they're all good franchisors.
Right.
But the pink's ours.
Claiming it.
That's not my flag. Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to get back a little bit to you guys actually starting out and everything. So your mom started it, and if you could just kind of walk me through like what the timeline looks like. So at the time you're a firefighter, right?
No.
Nope.
Mine's first. So yeah, so mom.
How'd the whole family get brought in, right? Like, and then
all right,
what point did you
mom got divorced, wanted to get out of town, was moving to Texas.
All right.
Had a girlfriend, had a job opportunity. Let's go to Texas. She was doing blinds in Washington by herself.
So you're originally from Washington.
Washington State is how we got to Texas.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And so she came to Texas. My younger brother moved here first. Started going to college. He's the baby of the family. Didn't want to, mom was coming too, so that was a safe move. I was on my way to Vermont to go snowboard and snowboard all day and cook all night.
Yep.
2 weeks after I got to Texas, I met my now wife, Leslie. So that story's over or barely beginning. Love you, babe. And then Kelsey came shortly after, and mom arrived, and so we all arrived within 2 years of each other in Texas, and for whatever reason, kind of rerouted to North Dallas, North Central Texas. My dad came later and joined us in Texas, so everybody's here now. And then so, anyways, mom brought her company, started Bloomin Blinds. And shortly after got here, got sick and couldn't work, and she asked me to help. So I was selling cars at the time, and could not enjoy a job more. Double negative. So I was happy to bail out of that, and I'd done that for a month and a half, and I want those month and a half back. But anyways, I'm not bitter. So I just started fixing blinds out of a 96 4-door Chevy Lumina with red velvet interior. It was white. I want it back. But that's how it started, in plastic Rubbermaid tubs out of a 4-door Lumina. So I was mom's first employee. We only did repairs for the first few years because the retailers, we weren't biting the hand that was feeding us, and retailers were sending us repairs. And we'd send them back their sales and say, thank you very much for the referral. And, tell John's Blinds that We sent them right back to you for the sale. And so it was very cooperative. And then we got to the point where it became silly to turn those opportunities away. And so we started retaining those sales opportunities, and we still were getting repair referrals. And so we knew we had built a good enough reputation. And so we just did the mom and son's family business selling blinds for a few years, and we're fairly successful with it. Got it to just under $3 million in retail sales locally. Through that time is when I went to thinking that it didn't have scaling ambition, because it didn't at the time. I was looking for a retirement and a stability piece for my wife and eventual family. So I pursued the fire department for a retirement and, all that capacity.
So were you doing both at the time?
Yep. Doing both, 24 on, 48 off. So it made, the most I was ever out for a week was 2 days. And it was, mom's the boss. So it made it very accommodating to like, hey, I'm on overtime. I'm like, sorry. So that was easy. It was fun. I loved it. I was good at it. And so it made it easy to come into work. And what I thought was just a job was kind of supported the pay for a firefighter. Right. So between the two, I had enough to make family and things like that. Franchising happened because it was the business had scaled to the point where we're either going to break up the family and go to different parts of the state or country and recreate this.
You had that decision of corporate model versus franchising, right?
And had no idea what franchising really was. But we engaged it. We knew enough that we'd train other people to do it, and then they mail you a check.
Mm-hmm. That sounds nice.
Right. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Sounds nice on the surface until you start getting into it. And
until you unpack it.
Whoa, this is a little more than I expected.
Yeah. And so we launched it, and we did really good at supporting the franchisees in the job. Because owner-operators, anyone that wanted more than a single territory, we turned away because we didn't know how to support it. We didn't know how to build it or do it.
Smart.
And so we only entertained owner-operators. My brother found them all through portals, just cold calls and, earning them.
When did your brother get into the picture? Because he's, CEO today, right?
He's CEO today. No, it was 2002, 2003, early on. And he worked for free for the first 9 months or whatever, and was like just sitting on checks because mom basically told him, you got to earn your own paycheck. And I was like, yeah, earn your own check. So it's, we've always worked together, lived together since high school, right? Since roommates in college and everything else. So it's natural to work together with my brothers. So it's just, mom and dad always said, you guys will be best friends. And I'm like, okay.
I told you earlier, it's something like I'm almost envious of with you guys. You have that family unit, and I'm sure that's actually part of what makes you guys so successful from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Is, that's going to resonate really heavily with a franchisee, that, the family business.
Yeah.
Component.
I think it's cheat code. And the way that God built us and the way that we interact, there's 3 of us that all have 3 very distinct and individual perspectives and approaches and mindsets. And it's not in conflict. We're able to, it's the ultimate application of a Venn diagram, where that little piece in the middle is where we've made most of our decision making, because we identified long ago that it's not worth fighting with each other. All those little squabbles and all the neeners got out years ago. We used to stand in the van and clean blinds in Texas summer, like just scrubbing blind, just messing with each other. Like we just like, dude, y'all finish, I'm leaving. And we just like go to the next job and just bail on them. All that's out of the way. And so now as we're trying to build a business and the focus is all of us together, it's the ability to take Kelsey's CEO visionary piece, Kevin's product understanding and ability to kind of like unpack that and do that kind of digital thing in his mind and understand it so well. And my understanding of like ops and structure of like deploying mission sets like the fire department does, like order out of chaos. It's so well balanced in the perspective output, because my third, his third, and his third, where most founder-led organizations have a single mindset, a single perspective, a single
They have
lens.
to hire for the components that you just naturally had, right?
And then you naturally have the individual's, position protection, personal ambition, all those things that they bring to a position that I know my brothers aren't bringing anywhere near it.
Not to mention the fact, like, I know you're not, you guys controlled how you handle discussions and you're not fighting anymore. But the fact that you would fight is actually valuable early stage, that you guys would voice an opinion, right?
Oh, the fights are out loud. They're not fights, though. They're disagreements on perspective for the same thing. So that took a bit for the team to get comfortable with. We know how volatile that is. We try not to, but there's some passion behind it. And so sometimes it just bubbles up. And Jeff, our VP of Ops and good friend that works with us, it's difficult for him to try and stay Switzerland through that, because all of us are looking at him like, yeah, right. And that, like, everyone at a different time. And he's like, I'll work it out. And we always do, because that's how we built the thing, because we know we're all fighting for the same thing from our land.
That's healthy, though.
It is.
So, like, a challenge, something I have on my side is I have a team too, but they're not family, right? And so getting them to express sometimes when they do disagree is a challenge. You don't have that problem because they'll voice their opinion, right?
Yeah, well, and they see us doing that. And so they're allowed to be in conflict as well and encouraged, because yes, together everyone achieves more, and all the lovely quotes about teamwork that are absolutely 100% applicable and true, I think overshadows where that journey of where all that work is done, where the building, like, from my perspective, when, like, the work is where the camaraderie comes from. When you're riding the truck together and, you get in a hairy situation, or you got to just do more than you thought you showed up for. And, like, that's where the camaraderie and that commitment to each other is built. And so that is the struggle. That's all that before the beautiful quote. But that's where the development occurs. That's where all of the benefit of the work happens, is in those shared moments. And so our office, there ain't a wall one in our office. The only office in our office is shared by Kelsey, Kevin, and I. Everyone else is in, Jeff, everybody, director of training, is in the same size desk, same feature set desk. They all stand. They all have the same cool chair. Like, everyone is, like, the franchisee is who we're all here for. Not, I don't work for you. We all work for them. Like, there's a normalization of the hierarchy in the office, because the output isn't the next layer. It's out of here. It's everyone else that gets up every morning, gets in a van to go represent our brand and do that job. So that makes it easy to have conflict and not be personal, because it's not me fighting you, it's both of us fighting for somebody else.
Absolutely love it.
You have to do it out loud.
Yeah.
That's I think you had to ask, what's the key to it? Doing it out loud and not being ashamed or afraid of it.
It's awesome, man. So we're established. Mom has, the business, you're in the business, your brother's in the business. We're going down the franchise journey. How did you guys go about establishing the franchise? And my number one question for me, because I'm a new franchisor, is how'd you convince the first franchisee to take the leap with you?
Brought him in, honestly. I don't know what made him trust us to do that. We brought him in at the time. Our process was Kelsey, a lot of phone calls with Kelsey, talking about all the different things that we were learning about at the time that he was trying to teach them about FDDs and each item set and the technology we're using at the time. Like, our training was doing. Training was 3 weeks of jump in the van and we will teach you everything I know how to do while we're running the schedule. And that was the extent of how to build a training program that we knew at the time. Well, and a lot of that came from me getting layers of certification as an instructor through the fire department and being taught how to be an instructor, how to format curriculum. And everything in that output was a public safety, life safety type scenario. So there was a very definitive structure, mindset, approach to
It's very
management.
important.
It's very, it's very important that this is understood and applied in this manner because the output's important. But that's what taught me how to train. I didn't have corporate retail training. I didn't have executive level training. I need you to be able to do this skill set very quickly and effectively for this particular reason. And in this case, it's profitability for your franchise operation. So I just, take out some variables, take out ladder, take out chainsaw, roof, fire, replace it with tilter, blind, iPad, right? Just change the variable and the structure and application of the training and instructions stay the same. Like you can still deliver tactical skill sets in a very short amount of time. In the same manner, I can teach an 18-year-old who's never seen an extension ladder to throw it single-handedly up against the roof and raise it efficiently. It's the same process of learning. So that's what the training center is built as, is a distraction-free, effectively like skill set lab, much like fire department props are, that everything else is taken away. You just do the one skill set over and over until you have muscle memory that it becomes training as opposed to learning.
What shifts did you see as far as like success in franchisees when you changed over from the 3 weeks in the field riding in a van over to, like now we have a structured curriculum and you're going through the system. How long is your training now?
2 weeks.
Okay. So you even lowered it.
90. And we're able to apply more. And we've actually just recently did another evolution. And what we've learned is through the evolution of it, because the platform was sound, and at the time it was as much as we can give you because we didn't have the structure. I didn't have my training yet to evaluate our own internal training.
Right.
It kind of was symbiotic in its development.
Metrics to really measure.
So I go to the fire department for 24 hours and I have 48 hours to come home and bend all my brother's ears and be like, guys, we need to do it this way. We need to do it this way. And then get off me, get off. And so we had to mature together to get here. But then, so where we're at now is the goal is 100% retention of the 100% of the information we deliver. It used to be, I'm going to give you 100% of what I know and hope you retain about 30% that should get you started. Now we've narrowed down what that 30% needs to be to get started. And we deliver that to 100% absorption capacity within that 2 weeks. Test on it, verify that you retained it, and send you home with.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is how do you measure? It's just the testing and results.
We've watched their monthly AUVs from system. As the system grew, the AUVs are increasing in smaller or in
for the audience,
shorter and shorter increments. Average unit volume, store profitability. So their sales go up faster through less content, better absorbed, and more repetitively trained. And it took a bit for the team to get it. Because in concept, it's tough. Like I'm taking away information.
Right.
But the volume of information that is the window covering industry, it's not complex, but it is massive in volume. And so to be able to weed through all those details, it's the Cracker Jack decoder. Mm-hmm. Once you get the decoder, you can read all the fun toys and boxes and puzzles. And so that's what we've realized. That's what we can effectively
give them a foundation, and they'll find the rest.
Yep.
Right?
Teach them to cook, not teach them how to make a dish. Teach them how to cook. And so you can cook anything. And so that's our perspectives. We teach systems overview that can be applied to anybody, any manufacturer's product.
So what's the average franchisee look like in your model? I know as operators.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for the people actually going out doing the sales call and the installation, right?
We started owner-operator model. And what we found is the daily connection with your business is the successful element. Mm-hmm. At whatever scale you do it, whether you're investing in an entire metroplex area and you want 9 territories, still you need to be there every day. Somebody needs to be emotionally attached to the decisions made.
Do you have that
business.
requirement in your FTD? I have one in mine. But
We don't have it in there. We'll entertain the executive model, but that's a totally different conversation.
Have you done any of those yet? No.
There's a couple in the system.
Yeah.
But the runway that's necessary for those, because the expenses you got to onboard on the front end, management and staff and all that, just it has to be bigger. And so that's a different risk tolerance.
Investment.
Yeah. I mean, we have a few in the system that love the system enough. They're like, I'm here for the long haul. So I'm playing long ball and I see what this can become. Absolutely. I appreciate the trust. I don't intend to squander it. But those are few that can do that and stay connected to make sure their management team is making good decisions in absence
It's
of
a different
ownership.
role completely, because now you're not just developing essentially the small business owner, you're developing an executive.
Mm-hmm. The whole management team. You're raising individuals, much like we used to do. We get 18-year-old kids that still lived at home that are paramedic firefighters are getting handed 5-year-olds at 3:00 in the morning that can't breathe. They can't make spaghetti. So they have a skill set, but they have to develop as individuals for maturity. So there's so many correlations between the two environments that it feels like the same uniform from a tasking, like repetitive thing for me personally, that it's as comfortable as the day is long. I love it.
Awesome. How you were mentioning earlier before we got on camera that you guys are starting to play around with technology. You want to talk about your cool toys in the training center and how you're integrating technology with training people on blinds?
Yeah, no, the technology piece is, the industry isn't advancing at the same rate as society and AI and all the other tech toys that are out there these days. A lot of the motorization has some really cool pieces in it, but a wood shutter can only advance out of being a wood shutter in so many ways.
Size.
Yeah, and you get into paints and coatings and different polymers in the actuators. But all that's, at the end of the day, the customer just sees a wood shutter.
Right.
So how you can convey the trust in those unknown products to the consumer is critical to getting them to understand the value in buying it, one from you, and buying the product as it is. Because we have a handful of manufacturers that we partner with that we trust their products and we trust their systems, their customer service. And that's who we offer. We don't offer the entire suite of brands in the home or the window covering space.
Right.
We have a very small group of partners that do very good job that we can trust putting their name out there. So, but at the end of the day, they're buying from Bloomin Blinds, and that's the brand that they eventually see.
Yeah, well, you want to control your partners anyway for quality standards because you're attaching it to your name.
Yep.
Right.
So what we've discovered is that the product development may not be advancing at the same rate, but our service delivery can. And so that's where we're taking the company, is how to take out the elements of the transaction that are transactional and just keep humans interacting with humans. So now they can actually build relationship, create rapport. So when they ask about those advanced coatings on the wood shutter or the different plastics used in the gearing inside that make it work so well, there's a trust and understanding of the product that I don't think other brands take the time to develop. They just talk about the product without establishing trust up front, or the consumer wants to hear what they have to say. They're effectively just rinse and repeat or robotic. And so they lose, the customer never trusts them, doesn't build a relationship, doesn't buy.
Well, how does tech help you strengthen that personal?
So when they come to our training center, they're instantly met with an 85-inch television screen instead of a sign. And it's a running looped commercial. So instantly you walk in the door of this flex warehouse space that you're expecting to see concrete floors. And you get a carpeted, nice, lovely, inviting room with this massive piece of technology just right there in your face. But it's placed well where it's just part of the room. It's like, whoa. And then it just goes away because it's expected. Big TVs on the wall is part of life.
You were saying you were doing something with cameras. So
Yep. And then once you get back into the skill lab, there's totally wireless overhead document cameras similar to a culinary school environment.
Sure.
And then they're broadcast to 4 TVs, 4 55-inch TVs up on the wall simultaneously, all wirelessly. And that idea, although we're fixing a dollar tilter in a $400 blind, I want our franchisees to engage the customer head up, making eye contact. So the TVs are up high to keep their chin and head up. So that posture, and they look down from a upright posture where they can tell their story, engage the consumer. And so the advancement level of that is to pursue AI developments and potentially into robotics and things like that, where the measurements and all the window data is captured with the customer never leaving the customer face-to-face.
So robotics has been a common trend on my podcast lately. Like that's coming up because AI is obviously a big subject, right?
Not going away.
Which I don't even quite know how to fully define what AI even means really today. But do you see this as impacting your industry in any way in the future as far as robotics and AI coming together? Do you see... Because I see it somewhat as a new opportunity and possibly challenge for home service brands. Maybe not immediately, but once you start getting intelligent robotics, it starts impacting the labor force and everything across the entire country. What's your opinion on that? Do you see, is Bloomin Blinds or yourself, taking any steps or?
Yeah, we've coined a cliche in office. I may have come, it doesn't matter who came up with it, but it's that technology should enhance relationships, not replace them. And so from a mindset, a focus, how we pursue where we're developing technology for Bloomin Blinds, that's kind of our guide on is this a value or is this a net negative? And is it enhancing the relationship or is it replacing it? Right. Well, for our brand, we'll never take the human out of the home. So anything we bring in is a force multiplier, whether that's software, hardware, and robotics, whatever application or tool is going to augment the human. That's our perspective, our approach, where we're going to build it and angle it around. What other companies do with it, I don't know. I think robotics in the large scale for our industry and window coverings is going to come on the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
And it's going to impact manufacturing jobs on that
like
sector.
Like an auto plant, right? That already does that.
Yep. The thing that I think it'll happen late because the delicate nature of the cording and how those products are assembled, it's different for it to grab a piece of body panel and weld it in 17 points.
Honestly, the transition, I could see it maybe even being good for your business because you might have some new quality issues that they're going to have to call you to fix, right?
I think it would. Right now, they're all human made.
Yeah.
Almost everything is human made. They may be computer cut, but it's human assembled. And so you have human error as part of the window covering industry. And that is inherent to every brand, every manufacturer, in every industry. They have a tolerance level of failure rate that gets out the door. That's an interesting psychological thing to deal with franchisees when they're suffering manufacturing mistakes for the first time on what's supposed to be perfect service delivery, and getting them to understand that dynamic and not be angry at the manufacturer and work through that.
Most of them warranty that stuff, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but it's the
time, the labor, the headache. Yeah,
it's having to wear that on behalf of the manufacturer because you don't get to step aside and be like, "Hey, that guy did it." You have to you are the delivery point for everything that you represent,
right?
And so that's kind of how we've from the customer or the franchisee to the customer, and from us to the franchisee, we're the service delivery to them. They're the service delivery to the consumer. So we sell stores the same way we sell franchise businesses the same way we used to sell blinds.
Yep.
Everyone knows the front and back side. They're an informed buyer at every level. Never have to apologize for what you said if you always told right. Like all those things in application. When you work for family, you get to do them and hold them true. Yeah. So that's how we built the brand. So tech, it's ingrained from the beginning.
I got an interesting. So I had JS with Valenta on, and I don't know if when we put your episode up, I don't know if his is out yet, but they streamline processes and everything for franchisors and businesses in general. And one of the conversations we had was conversational AI and applications for it. And it's not always the right fit, but you're so adamant about having the personal touch and everything. I'm curious if that's something you entertain or, are thinking about implementing.
Yeah. Avatars. HeyGen is I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a video avatar generating app. I was introduced to Ryan Hicks at Springboard. Threw it up was talking to the presentation. Went home and chased it, and it almost seemed purpose built for our mindset of enhance relationships, not replace them.
Right.
So how we intend to install that in our sales process, since we have an internal call center that we can manage and dictate and adjust the process on the fly, they can be that force multiplier for our franchisees in one-way communications, right? And so post-meeting, post-human introduction, the little messages of, hey, I'm on my way, right? Now it can be generated through an avatar, through captured video and AI generation, and be distributed by our customer care team on behalf of the franchisee. So now you can scale 9 people that work for you on your behalf to having the full capability that you can't keep for one person.
Right.
And with AI support and with a list of avatar, one-way message delivery. Now, we're not trying to fake a conversation.
You're looking at
very limited application, because that once we cross that threshold, now we're replacing the relationship part. If I'm trying to interact back with them, that's a false screen. That's not me.
That's been the reservation of when I look at this stuff too, is always ensuring that I'm not losing personal touch somewhere along the line. We talked about on that one too, about the call center, because I'm setting up a call center too. I'm keeping it stateside and I'm not farming that out, because I want people local. I want the same person answering the phone for each region of the country as I start scaling it out. Things like that. Do you control your call center in a similar way? Like, do you have, this is my thought on it. Now I'm just picking your brain for my own benefit, right? But I have is to chop the call center into regional areas so that the calls are routed in, and because I have repetitive customers and they have a relationship with whoever they're calling in the office, right? And I want to make sure I maintain that relationship across the country. So my idea is to chop it up into, you have this person handling, say, 3 states or whatever's needed. Do you do anything similar in your call center?
Similar. They're assigned a franchisee representation, basically. Like, that's their point of contact.
Gotcha.
But everybody is capable in.
So your call center is for the franchisee, not the consumer?
Well, it's consumer inbound traffic.
Okay.
So, but they answer on behalf of the franchisee. So they're very much representative of that local family operation from our office. And so we spent months getting all the technology stripped away that kept a human from picking up the phone and saying, hi, this is Chris from Bloomin Blinds. How can I help you?
I have a really good question about that, because I just implemented the call prompts when you call in. And I was torn on doing that. Do you guys have that, or does it go straight to?
It goes straight to human.
Okay.
All the digital switching and data capture happens, but we have to answer all the spam calls, because now the spam filter, that was the biggest thing, was the spam filter. Fine. We are so far. We have so much more capacity in our call center just because how we build things. Like I build the building, the roads, the water, the sewer, everything, electricity, furnish it, and then invite people to move in. Like, that's our perspective. Like, that's our responsibility to do. Now that we know what responsible franchising is, to follow the theme of the IFA, that's the obligation. Like, that's our job, is to provide finished goods and services to the franchisees, not teasers of stuff that never happens.
Right.
And to deliver that repetitively well. So our customer care team has the capacity to do all of these things. We've onboarded more because we have a strategic partnership coming on that's like months in advance, so they're that good when the impact hits. So it's our mindset. That's just how we steer the ship.
What advice would you give to a franchisee that's shopping or a potential franchisee that's shopping franchises? What should they look for in the franchise offerings that they're shopping?
Their emotional response to the offering. I don't know, man. That's so personal. There's so many choices, from food to home services, Bloomin Blinds. But it's absolutely not for everybody. We have to, our person needs to be so personable, so able to connect, that's not for everybody. Some people would need, the business for them is automotive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oil change, drywall, whatever it is. So I would say find the one that resonates, that you feel, and trust that, because everything else is a very well curated sales process. They just are. This is a well-studied industry. It is a professional industry. There are experts abound that do nothing but pick this apart and make it better, faster, stronger.
I would say the sales process in franchising, though, could use some work. We purposely, when we started putting together our process, right, went out there and filled out lead forms.
To see what it was like.
Yeah. So we'd be surprised how many we filled out and didn't get calls right away or get any response from. I was flabbergasted by that, especially the cost of leads, right? You understand how expensive it is just to get a lead in franchising. It's not, we're not selling, bubble gum. It's a high ticket item. Yeah. So lead generation's expensive. And then when they get a lead, they don't respond. That was mind boggling.
I think it's important for Azor to know who they're shopping for also initially. That was one thing we had a good idea on, is we didn't engage the broker networks early on. One, we were dependent upon the franchise fee to support the business. So we couldn't give that money away from a commission standpoint. Two, we didn't know anything about it. So we averted it for that. And we identified the fact that a guy that's going out and filling out his own form and doing his own work is the owner-operator mindset, the I can do this myself guy that we really needed at the time, and that early adopter mindset that says I can take more risks because I'm willing to try. That was absolutely our guy. And it was funny. We had all male owners, and like 98% of our consumers were female. But we approached it. We're three brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So we approached a very typically softer industry from a very rational, functional perspective, from a male perspective, and just did it with the considerations of design and the listening to our customers, which were all
expand on the broker
and,
thing a little bit, if you don't mind. That was a good segue into that.
Sure.
Is I'm kind of in a similar boat, looking at it the same way, where we're doing all our own lead gen. I'm not not partnering with any broker networks at the moment. You guys do use broker networks, from my understanding, correct?
Yes, sir.
What's your experience been with that? And do you feel that is a good way for somebody to go early stage, or is that something they should reserve for later? I personally am of the opinion that I should build my own internal marketing, right?
I think it's resource driven.
Yeah.
How's it been for us? Phenomenal, because we had a good base of structure and business. We were royalty sufficient before we engaged the broker networks. So we had a successful brand built. I mean, successful financially. We still were maturing and had a long way to go. But I think it's resource driven. If you have the capital, the broker networks are phenomenal. Once the consultants learn your brand and can speak well to what your value proposition is in the market, it's very easy for them to share your offering. If they don't understand you, they're not going to offer you.
How good were they at gathering that information? Did they seek it from you, or did you have to really push it to them?
They're getting fed a lot of information from a million different angles. All of us trying to vie for that next candidate opportunity, at least the first look at it.
Right.
It may not be the fit, but at least want the look. And so everyone's trying to do that. It's up to you to prepare that and then chase the opportunities, just like the IFA, right? It's very easy to capture the opportunities by just showing up.
And I'm guessing here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the relationship with the broker is probably crucial, right? I'd imagine you have a very strong relationship with certain brokers that bring more than others.
My brother has more of that relationship side, but yeah, totally. And that's like the root of any business is actually like real relationship. That's easy business. If it's forced relationship or like a forced marriage type thing,
Right.
Hey, go call that company and buy their services.
You got to find your people.
Then don't exceed this budget. Like that's difficult. But if they're your friends and there's a need, then they're not beating your door down to sell you something. They're just available when you have a need. And that takes actual relationship. And he spends that's his perspective. He loves those franchise conferences and that world. And he connects with and communicates with them very, very well. I'm more comfortable on the IFA side, and Kevin goes to the product stuff. So we're able to kind of exist in these different spaces. I don't know if that answered your question or get around to it.
Sure did. Hey, one more question for operators, because that's your specialty, right? You're the ops guy. So if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody on their operations, what would be the number one most important thing for them in their day-to-day operations?
Follow through. Pick what needs to be followed through to do it. Don't wait for someone to email you back, right? Like that fire, call it momentum, desire, passion, but it's the actual action behind the emotion. Everyone has passion. Everyone has desire. Everyone has all those things, but the winners apply action behind that emotion and continue to build momentum. It's not enough to say you want it. You have to go get it. Regardless of the level. Yeah, you got to follow through. If you don't follow through, you're not following your promises, commitments to your Z's, your suppliers, yourself. I mean, that's the root of integrity and character, I think, is just doing what you said you'd do.
It's crucial, man. Your word is your bond, right? Like that phrase has stood the test of time, and it will forever.
Some of the old ways still win.
Yeah. Hey, we were talking about that. We're not going to announce our ages on here, but it's interesting. Our generation and that stuff needs to carry down to the younger generation, and there's stuff you can learn from every single age group, regardless where we're at in our society. That's something I wish more people would do, is have conversations with older people. I do it all the time, right? Like some of my friends are 20, 30 years older than I am. Don't get mad at me, friends out there, if I set that too old. But
I think the older generation wants to share, and they have a bountiful amount of information. They're just waiting to be asked.
It's it's just part of humanity. We want to pass knowledge down. That's how humanity progresses and has forever. Now we have the benefit of recording it digitally, right? But back in the day, it used to be a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the wise man within the tribe, was just the old guy.
His job was to tell stories.
But those stories were the things that was passing information down to the younger generation. And it was teaching them about the way of life and the history. And so, like, when you think back to small tribes and how they operated like that, it literally, that was school for the children.
Yeah.
That story time was telling them about lessons that were learned so that they can avoid and progress. And that's how humanity has gotten to the point it is today.
Again, the beginnings of societal infrastructure.
Yeah.
Was it's the why, right? Our tribe experienced this, suffered, celebrated, whatever it was, but we experienced this, and this is why we do these things.
Exactly.
It's culture, why, whatever. And that's the thing. Like, we have all these tools and capacities to do that so well.
We'll go into the Musk chip another time.
Just do it. And that's the difference is, like,
if you're not successful today with the amount of information that you have at your hand, it's definitely a choice.
Yep.
You can find out absolutely anything in about 30 seconds with your extension of a brain that we carry around or your phone, right? It's all right there. There's no excuse today to not be able to do something.
No.
I mean, you could even teach yourself like quantum mechanics yourself from your bedroom, at home.
Yeah.
That wouldn't interest me, but
we're messing. You know what a flipper zero is?
No.
In short, it's a hacker toy. I mean, it'll read RFID, NFC, Bluetooth.
I think I know you're talking about.
It's a little orange. It's got the dolphin. It's shaped like a toy Game Boy type thing.
Okay.
Anyways, it's a signals transceiver. It absorbs and can decode and unprocess, decoded signals and things like that. I think our job as a franchisor is to chase those things on behalf of, it's totally out of curiosity, but can I take the 10 different remote controls that we need to use, and can this pick up all of them and keep a single device? And now, instead of $1,000 of remotes I got to keep, can I for $150?
That's why they buy a franchise. I mean, we have a huge responsibility to continue advancing and developing.
Yes.
They don't have to think about it. They're operators, right? Even if they're a big organization, they have lots of territory and they're that corporate structure where they have multiple managers. And even at that level, it's still the OR's responsibility to bring the new stuff to them.
Yep.
That's why they bought it. That's why they pay a royalty. That's why we exist.
That's why they continue to pay it.
Yeah.
When you stop providing that value is when they should continue to stop paying that royalty. Because that's why that's the engagement, right? That's the bond, the agreement between two parties is I will find ways for you to make more money. And for that, I would like a small piece of it.
I'm a new franchisor, but I understand if I'm having problems collecting royalties from a franchisee, it means that I'm either A, not providing them with enough value, or B, I mean, I need to improve my screening processes. So it's really one or the other, right? I failed to deliver the value proposition, or I've brought in I brought in the wrong part.
But or they're not applying that playbook.
Yeah.
And that's, for us, that's the perspective is this our fault for not building a good playbook that they can execute on?
Right.
Or is it an honest conversation that says, no, the playbook is sound in this capacity. It's proven through all these other metrics or use cases. But have that honest conversation internally and, hey, I hear you. Give us a minute. Let's look at this. And then do that with some diligence and follow through that gets it done in a timely fashion. With all these tools, there's no reason we shouldn't output an answer.
Right.
And when something is challenged within our playbook that we lean so heavily on as this is why you're buying Bloomin Blinds is because of all these things that we've developed. If any of those are challenged, that is our product. We have to make sure that's sound. So with AI and with all the industry experience that we have in office, because we're not franchisors in office, we're job support window covering specialists in office. We need to test that as much as we can within 2 to 3 days, and you have an answer back for them. And that's system wide. When we find those, it's not just okay for you. Nope, this goes out to everybody. Everybody needs to fix this because thank you for you helped us identify it.
Are you guys doing annual conventions and stuff? Or
we do it every 18 months or so.
Okay. Cool.
We'll call it family reunion.
Yeah.
It's the first time we're taking it on the road this year.
Where are you going?
So Fort Lauderdale.
Cool.
Yep. So if you went to the IFPG event at the Diplomat, that's where we're headed.
I gotcha. Yeah, I will not be there. I've been to the Diplomat, though, ironically.
So that's where we're headed.
Yeah. Okay. I actually went there, I think, for a Grant Cardone thing. It's a nice place.
I'll share the same stage as Grant Cardone. No problem there.
He's a character, that's for sure. I only met him once, but I did have a conversation with his sidekick, Brandon Dawson. Interesting guy, very straight to the point. Tore apart he's not a franchise provider.
No. Not for everybody.
No, yeah, we went through my business model. He like tore it to shreds. I'm like, okay, you don't understand what I'm building, so I'm going to just brush that off.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, that's, we had to get more comfortable with that. Like realizing that this isn't for everybody and being comfortable to say that. Like everyone says you got to be super selective. But man, when you're hungry and you need stores, that's real tough.
Yeah.
Everyone says that when they've gone through that. And yes, it is good advice and it's absolutely applicable and needs to be heeded. But man, there's bills don't get paid by intent. They get paid by cash. And however you structure your business to scale and do that, it's a constant push and pull.
So we talked a little off about this, and that's where PE comes in, right? Private equity money, right? And it's making that decision, right? Because if you're going to be really strict and you're having a hard time, which I am, right? I'm not letting anybody in the door. It has to be the right people out of the gate, right? We have leads. We have people that have come in. I could give away a franchise if I wanted to get it going, right? But it has to be the right person. Otherwise, I'm not proving anything. It has to be successful. So
it's just a run rate question then.
Yeah. Then you're looking at run rate, and that opens opportunities for private equity to come in and say, well, I can help you with the runway, and especially early stage, because they're going to come in and they're going to, take half your business, if not more, right?
They'll buy half your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's where you have to know where you're going to engage that partner.
Right.
Right. If you go into it blindly and they make a good deal and you make a bad deal, I don't blame private equity for that.
Well, no, a deal, everybody's looking at it for their own, their own benefit. That's the point of.
I think it's up to the ZOR to make sure that partnership services the franchise brand as well as if not before, probably before their personal stake in the company.
Right.
And that's how we view it, right? We're asked all the time, are you looking to sell? And no, the first question we ask all of them is like, how do you benefit our franchise system beyond shared services, beyond in-house legal and all those other advantages that are obvious?
I'm going to probably open up doors to getting contacted a little bit here, but the only way I would ever entertain it is exactly what you're talking about, right? You have your family unit, and if I had people that were willing to, first, I remain fully in control of the direction, right? And they brought in the support in the areas where I'm weak along with the capital. That's the only way I would entertain it, is because I have a great team. I don't have the C-suite that I necessarily need, right? And that's what you have with your brother and your family and everything, right?
By birthright.
Well, but that they're very strong in their areas, and that's one area. Right now I'm the only hat, right? I'm the only one wearing all the hats, so that would be the only appeal to private equity at that point. Would be, okay, are you guys going to fund where we have all the right hats, but I still get to call the shots?
Well, much like any franchise buyer and franchisor Z engagement, the private equity firm, fund, whatever, and ZOR partnership has to be the right fit. Not all of them want a minority share. Some of them want full. Some of them want majority and retention. And that's one thing we've learned, is that it's so unique. Every deal is so unique and individual. It's really in my view, it's the responsibility of the franchisor to make those decisions on behalf of the franchise brand that they represent as the first decision point. How does that transaction lift the brand? If they do that responsibly and well, whatever the return on their efforts are, should be honest and true, and they can freely celebrate them. Right. Because the first intention was the first customer that they first promised to service, which was their franchise owner. The person that took the gamble on them should get that first consideration that was the thing that got you to be viewed by PE. So
how cool is that you get to help watch other people, liberate themselves, by the way?
It's phenomenal because everyone comes from
There's
the
nothing better
chains
than-
of someone else's, for us at least.
Yeah.
We're positioned where we get a lot of people, first-time business owners.
Mhm.
That's awesome. They're so stoked. Their kids are in the pictures. And it's great for branding because
Yeah.
like it tells a great story. And they're just snapping selfies and their kids are wearing their brand to school because they have kids shirts made
They're
for
fans,
they're
right?
proud of it.
Yeah.
And that feels good when they put their children in the brand that my mom built, that we grew, that they're running, and their kids are wearing it.
What's better? Nothing.
I mean,
Yeah.
profits will always follow that. You don't even have to count them.
No. Again, every single founder or any single, most executives in the franchise space I've had on the show, money is never even it's just resource, right?
It's a tool.
Yeah. Nobody's doing this for that. It's just the result of what we do.
And if you do get to that point where you get that win, I mean, it's kind of so few achieve it, right? It's the Powerball.
Yeah.
Everyone's holding a ticket, but not everyone's a winner.
Yep.
But it's the belief system that it can be. And what it takes to get there is, it sounds pretentious, but it's selfless. Like it's an external focus. And if that external focus is in focus, then everything else that's right around you can blur and not be a problem because it just kind of flows in the direction that it's supposed to go, which is downstream to the franchisee. So,
right.
I don't know. They've coined it well, responsible franchising. And I think it's totally applicable and I hope it sticks. There's only one way to do it. And everyone's here to be profitable and to make money. But it's the minute someone gets overly greedy and starts taking somebody else's is when franchising, I think as an industry, starts to weed out and eject that cancer from the environment that it does such a good job of protecting itself.
It's self-regulating.
Yeah, it is. And there's a purity of intent in franchising that from supplier to Zor to Z, and in the good PE firms make good choices and they invest smartly and they don't pay the gold diggers, right? They don't reward that guy. And so at all levels, I think when done well, the rising tide lifts all boats and everybody gets elevated because of the collective honesty and character of this industry that franchising is, regardless of your widget within.
Right. So I know you have an event coming in a short period, so I'm going to allow you to do your shout out to Bloomin Blinds. Where can people find you?
You bet.
Just tell us a little bit about where they can locate you or Bloomin Blinds or whatever information you want to share.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's bloominblinds.com and you can get franchising information there. You can schedule an appointment. There's a window visualizer. You can take pictures, upload your own home, play with product and apply different colors and things to your own home. So bloominblinds.com is where everything gets to. We're in 32 states, I believe. So if you need any window covering, repair, motorization, home automation, integration, things like that, give one of our local operators a call. They know what they're doing and they've got a huge support team behind them.
Awesome.
All hours. So appreciate the opportunity.
Everybody needs blinds. So in 38 states, pretty much everybody out there can find one. If you're interested in a Bloomin Blinds franchise, I'm sure there's a link on the website to their franchise offering.
Franchise Fastlane is doing development for us.
Okay.
Kelly Mock is their best director we ever had.
Yeah, that's the sign company, Fastlane, right?
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs.
That's Propelled Brands.
Oh.
Franchise Fastlane
Gotcha.
is FSO.
Okay.
So they're just professional sales organization. They handle the relationships.
It's true because Fast Signs has a development side to them too.
Yep. No, FSOs, they're great. They're good for business. They're expensive, but they're effective. And so it's a get what you pay for. And a group like Fastlane that has such a refined process carries its own weight. By just the alignment with them was huge for our brand. So they've been a great partner.
We'll shout out there also, any
Hey,
franchisors out there. So
Thanks, Kelly.
awesome, man. Appreciate it. It's been great. And we'll see you on the next episode of Distilled Wisdom.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
I'm Refreshman, and I'm here to empower you to take charge of your destiny. Are you tired of working for someone else? Do you dream of making a difference in your community and unleashing your full potential? Then look no further than Refresh Franchising. With us by your side, you can start your own heroic business venture with the unwavering support and cutting-edge resources you need to conquer your goals. Our franchise model is like a super serum that will give you the strength to succeed. Refresh provides extensive training, ongoing mentorship, and an established brand with a loyal customer base. Plus, you'll become part of a heroic league of entrepreneurs who serve as allies on your journey towards greatness. And the best part, you won't have to waste time building your business from scratch like some kind of neophyte. With Refresh Franchising, you'll hit the ground running at lightning speed and unlock the key to heroic financial success. So gather your courage, summon your inner superhero, and visit refreshfranchising.com to launch your heroic franchise journey. Always remember, together, we can achieve greatness.